Yo, how's it going, guys? It's Richie Unicorn Caller here, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. It is Monday. Hopefully, you guys got a little bit of extra sleep, or at least got your clocks in order, because I think the time has went up for daylight savings earlier on. I think like a couple days ago, but hopefully everybody's having a good time. I wanted to do a news video, but honestly, I'm just gonna keep it real. I'm kind of in like a yapping mood. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Wizard101. Obviously, we talk about Wizard101 24/7 on this channel. You guys know I'm a whiz head by heart. But I wanted to kind of talk about particularly the spring update and the previous updates and just overall kind of like the future of this game, because right now I think it's safe to say that this spring update for 2026 was kind of a flop. And it might be subjective. You're either gonna like these updates or you're really gonna hate them. And in particular, this one was kind of like a mixed bag. A lot of people were kind of upset about the whole Spellmint situation, and a lot of people are just genuinely bored of the game and really don't have a reason to either renew their memberships or even log into the game as of right now, because let me guess, it will probably be another double pet XP next weekend. So again, it just seems like we're seeing a loss of players, but obviously they have the charting for that. I mean, it probably doesn't bother them too much, but it bothers me a little bit, and maybe this could help out the developers a little bit more understand why players are not engaging in the content. And it's not like uh a really big mystery. This doesn't really take an Albert Einstein to figure out why players are not engaging in the content. We have talked about it for numerous amounts of years, and it seems like there's really been not much of an effort to really bring in those types of players into the game, and especially casual players. For starters, this spring update is kind of a nothing burger, right? You have the whole Spellmint situation, which, if you're someone that has never cared for Spellmints all the way since 2019, then there really isn't no point of investing your time, resources, and energy into upgrading spells or wasting time trying to get thousands of Spellmints just to get a minimal damage margin. I'm sure the nerds, will give me the explanation on why it's so important to max out spells to the absolute limit, but just in my opinion, I just don't think that it's really worth all the energy. And they tried to appease a little bit of people by introducing the whole capstone rewards, which is nice. To a certain extent, you'll get 500, of the Spellments, which is nice. But again, to a certain extent, that's only can go so far until people obviously run out of Spellments. And then, if you want to get tier 5 for another spell, you're going to have to just literally grind. And at first, it was really cool, but now it's kind of getting to the point where, wow, I need to farm even more Spellments. Especially if you want to get multiple paths of the same spell so that your wizard has a lot more versatility. But right now, I think probably the main elephant in the room is that there's no more reset button. So you can't really switch and swap anymore. The upgrades are permanent, and if you try resetting your points, which is kind of funny, I find it funny how they added in the free training point buyback during the weekend. But if you reset your training points, you don't really keep any of your spells that you've upgraded with Spellmints. So for example, I have Fire Elf, but even then I have it upgraded. I would still need to retrain that spell. So you're getting your training points back. You're not getting ripped off or anything, but in a sense, you'll be spending a lot more training points because there's no way to really save your training points. You're gonna have to be very, very cautious. And when you have updates where the players have to be very, very cautious, then it kind of becomes a turn off. It just seems very anti-player in a sense. Now, why they removed the reset button and added in that update, I have no idea, but it's all part of KingsIsle gaming philosophy on how they think the game should work and how they want the game to be. It's kind of the same thing with the Bazaar that we talked about for years as well. They said that it was never the intention of players trading reagents. One of my friends tried selling reagents to one of their friends and it got sniped instantly. And it would be cool to have a function where you could trade a little bit more than just treasure cards in the game. Perhaps maybe reagents or pet snacks. Maybe you can give some gear to people. All that sounds way too good to be true. And that's something that I don't think KingsIsle is ready to step forth into, because I don't think they're prepared. I think they're scared, and I think that overall they're seeing metrics that we're not seeing, and maybe they think that that would just be a catastrophic idea, I guess. I don't know why. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't give any raid gear to anybody, especially this gear. This delicious gear that took me almost 3 years to get. And with that raid, we actually haven't raided ever since. The entire guild has gotten kind of tired and everybody's taking a break. And that kind of segues into the next conversation. Let's talk a little bit about guilds and raids. Guilds have always been bad. It launched bad. There's a lot of things that go wrong with it. Primarily, just the guild space in general is not enough. Now, previously it launched with 50, and then over time, they actually increased it by plus 10 in one of the previous updates. So the max amount of player accounts that can join a guild is 60 accounts. Now, that doesn't really mean much, especially if you're someone that plays on multiple wizards, or if you have people in the guild that do a lot of dual boxing. So you kind of just soak up a lot of space per account. And obviously, it's not the main intention of dual boxing in a raid, or even triple boxing, or having multiple people have to dual box a raid, because you can't get a full roster of 12 players, or even sometimes even 8 players for the Ghastly raid. And that also leads us into the next segue. Why are rosters not getting filled up? Why are we seeing people do less raids? Raids require resources. Raids require a lot of Azoth. It requires a lot of Monstrology summons. Overall, it's inaccessible. You have to join a guild just to do raids, understandably, so you're organized. But then you'll have a lot of strict guilds that don't like it when you're MIA, or you'll see a time slot that doesn't fit your time because you have a different time zone. And then, of course, guilds can fill up, so there won't be enough space to actually invite the player. And then you also have the thing about the whole cooldown, which they did a poll of in the Discord a while back, and it just seems like nothing really went forward after that poll, which a majority of the community just didn't want a guild cooldown at all, just to join another guild. And I compared it to other video games, and they at least have guild sizes up to 100s, and even some of them in the thousands of range. But I just feel like 60 account spaces in general, I don't think that's a lot. You're limiting the players, and with the guild cooldown, that kind of just destroys a lot of the smaller guilds. Some guilds probably still haven't even done their first raid yet. We also gotta take in consideration how raiding can be a little bit hard, which is also subjective. You have your stat caps, you have your banned spells, so you're gonna go into an environment that's completely different for you, and that can be a very daunting experience. But I'm here to say that it's not really that hard. It really is easy, but again, a lot of people don't want to take that step into raiding or joining guilds because of how inaccessible it is. And that's kind of the problem I have with guilds and raids for the longest time. And that's something KingsIsle had been trying to fix over time. I mean, they added the lieutenant role, which is also pretty cool. These people can basically remove other people from the guild in case they just show up as Z's, or if they just generally don't log in right now. I mean, I could probably find a couple right here. Wolf Ghost Gem, he hasn't logged in since, it looks like March 1st. I think he was going to go over to one of the other guilds and help them out. Here's another Z, more Grim Life. Hasn't logged in for a while. Actually, not March. I believe February. My bad. February. Hasn't logged in since February. Mark Galaxy Sky. That's Mark Storm, I believe. You see what I mean? Mason Lion Fist. Oh, someone wants to join the adventure party. Again, February. And the funny thing is, even if I were to remove these players, they will magically come back and say, hey, why did you remove me? So that's why I just dump the job to the lieutenants, and they can figure that out, and they can get yelled at themselves. Because I have been yelled at dozens of times for trying to make space in the guild, because KingsIsle thinks that 60 account spaces is enough, and guild cooldowns is what keeps it going. But it's funny, because even if you do all of that, even if you join a guild, even if you join a raid, the raids are bugged right now. You guys remember the whole Beast Moon Circle thing we mentioned in our previous news video, talking about how, oh, the Beast Moon sigils are kind of messed up, like, you know, 4v4 fights, there's 2v2 fights that can be 4v2'd. Well, guess what? That also affected raids, apparently. Raids have been facing a plethora of bugs and glitches over time, and with this bring update, it has bring in a nasty amount of bugs. Apparently in the Ghastly raid, there are some mobs that like infinitely respawn, so you just have to keep defeating them over and over again until they just finally stop spawning in. There's a pulling issue apparently with the Voracious Void raid that I have never seen. That's also just very weird. That raid is also very heavily based on RNG, considering they banned dispels from advanced content, which is another reason why a lot of people don't go raiding, because they're always changing up a spell, or they're always banning a spell, to the point where trying to find a new guide can be a little daunting. A lot of people don't want to go into a raid and experiment, because that's a waste of a key, that's a waste of an energy elixir. And that person that talked about the infinite spawning glitch, they said that they wasted a key, that they wasted an energy elixirs just trying to make that raid work. And that's just disrespectful for the community's part, you know? And I mentioned this a lot on this channel, that KingsIsle does not appreciate your time. I think back in the day, there was a lot more love for this game, but since they've been brought out, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, we're kind of seen as kind of like profit margins. So as long as people see a crown sale and spend an X amount of money on it, or just buy the game in general, like gauntlets, packs, bundles, all that stuff, I don't really think there's much of a care, because you're still making money. You know, who cares if the community can't do a certain raid? You know, who cares what they think? As long as you're making money, that's usually how a business goes. And like I said, I think back in the day, there was a lot more care, there was a lot more love, but right now, this is a business. I think right now in the gaming market, they're seeing this as a business. Maybe I could be wrong, or maybe I'm just being too mean, but right now, I think the harsh reality is that this game has become a business. And we can talk a little bit about Wizard101 console as well, because that has been a little concerning. Alright, we're kind of 5 months in, or at least 6 months in, I don't know. But it's been getting a little weird, and it's been getting a little awkward as to how far back updates they are. Now, as of right now, I don't think that they have the 2025 Darkmoor update for console. I don't know if they're missing anything else, but that's as far as I know. Right now, they're still fixing a lot of bugs, a lot of issues. Even the team up kiosk apparently is still bugged, and these are simple things. And they also have other things that are missing, such as keyboard and mouse support, text chat, and ways to even earn little promotional codes that we see a lot during, like, you know, the KI lives or stuff like that. We do a lot of free codes on this channel, but that's only going to be for Wizard101 on PC. Wizard101 console players have no way to redeem those codes, and that has been a problem for the longest time, and I don't know why they wanted to launch it without integrating that. Maybe they're on a time crunch, maybe they're on a schedule, but Wizard101 console players, I couldn't recommend that game for anyone. You know, obviously you get the comfort to play it on your console, but like I said, you're going to be missing out on a lot of stuff, which is really sad. It's depressing. Dude, I'm going to be honest. It's actually kind of getting depressing, like, with this game. Like, it's actually starting to get a little concerning, a little depressing, and overall sad. It really is getting really sad. It just seems like there's a huge disconnect with the company and the community right now. And like I said, we're kind of seen as profit margins. So as long as, you know, there is revenue being made, then there's nothing to really care about for the community. Now, obviously, some of these things could obviously be fixed or at least talked about upon in the future, maybe a couple weeks ahead, or maybe a couple months ahead. But right now, we're in the spring 2026 update for Wizard101 on PC. And like I said, console still doesn't even have the Darkmoor 2025 update. Same thing with Wizard101 Europe. They also don't have the Wizard101 2025 update, right? They're still behind. Right now, Wizard101 Europe and console and Power 101 aren't really getting a whole lot of love, but main focus right now is Wizard101 North America, because that most probably makes a lot of sales. I don't have their charting, and I don't want to know their charting. I don't want to know their analytics or anything like that, right? I don't want to see that. But it's just something to think about. And I could go on and on. I mean, what's another thing about this entire spring update? Half of the content isn't even here. We have to wait for the Gauntlet to have its own little release day. And then the Portal Apparel doesn't come out till March 24th. Now, the problem I have with the Portal Apparel, which if you guys don't know, just main TLDR, it's a pretty cool event where you do a bunch of housing gauntlets. You can get some nice little rewards and stuff from the shop. You know, it's a really cool event. It's nice for free-to-play players. But the problem with that is it has always been known to be really buggy and really glitchy. That's why it was taken down last year. So they're relaunching it this year, and you know, you just kind of cross your fingers and hope, like, did they figure it out this time? Like I said, we have a really rough spring update. I don't even know if the test realms, which, by the way, they shadow dropped the test realm. I don't know if that's really helping. I don't know. It's starting to feel like we need additional weeks of test realm, or they need to figure something out. They need to figure something else out, because right now, this formula isn't working. When you have these half-baked updates, and you just keep pumping those out over and over and over again, it kind of shows to the players that you're not really given enough time and energy to really make sure that these launches are a lot better. And especially when you have overwhelming criticism about the Spellment in that situation. But going back to the Portal Apparel, we hope that this launches a lot better than what it did last year. Because if it's glitchy and if people find a super buggy exploit, which we know that KingsIsle really doesn't like exploits that benefit the players, obviously, they will take it down and they will take it out. So I don't really have much hope for the Portal Apparel, quite honestly. And that's probably one of the bigger things about this spring update. It was one of the bigger things that happened in the last spring update. So I don't know. We're giving Portal Apparel a shot. We're giving it a shot, but if it doesn't work, then it is what it is. I personally think if it doesn't work this time, I think they should just scrap it, because no amount of hot fixes or bug fixes is gonna fix it. Like, I completely give up with it. If it doesn't work this year, then so be it. It's just one of those things that it was never meant to be. And I just hope that if they do scrap it, I hope they move that big ugly tent out of the fairgrounds forever. Just tell her to take a hike, Madam Magda to take a hike, go somewhere else, please, because again, it's a fun event, but it's only a matter of time. Is like, can they fix it? You know, that's kind of like the main question. I know it seems like I'm being mean, but when you've been playing this game for so many years, these bugs, these glitches, these very controversial updates, you kind of get used to, and it's kind of part of Wizard101's really weird formula, right? They can drop like a super controversial update next month or whatever, you know, in the summer update. They could drop a crown sale and everybody's wallets will immediately open. That's how easy this community is. I think I only bought a crown sale like maybe once or twice because I usually don't buy a lot of crowns. I'm usually a membership type of guy. I usually get a membership around November or the winter because that's when we usually get the new content. Right now, you don't really need a membership to play this game for the spring and summer. You honestly just wait all the way until winter. And even then, we usually have a lot of free membership promotion periods, which are also pretty fun as well during the birthday or during the summer, and then during like the 12 days of the Spiral event. So honestly, you really don't need membership to play this game at all. You can pretty much play it for free, just gotta wait. But that has been my main gripe pretty much about this game. So probably the main things to take from this TLDR, it's just the bugs and glitches, the guild and raids, and why people aren't engaging in the content for obvious reasons. Like I said, it doesn't really take a Thomas Edison to figure that out. It's really that easy. Doesn't take Bill Nye the Science Guy to figure out why people don't want to play the game. I'm pretty sure that's obvious. You're also switching spells and updating them 24/7. So a lot of people, again, just don't want to play a game like that where you can't really figure out and decide on what you want to do for those updates. That's another big thing. And then lastly, of course, with these lackluster, kind of controversial updates, that can also be a big concern as well. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say beyond that. This will probably be our last kind of ranty yap video for a while because, again, we've been saying it for years. I don't know how else as a community we can help them. You know, I think this is just one of those things where King's Isle themselves, they have to step forward and they have to figure it out. Now, I will say something that I will praise them for this, you know, because last year, or I think a year after that, or before that, whatever, we didn't really have the best community management, right? That was awful. I think that's something everybody in general can probably admit on. But now I will say, special shout out to community manager Mickey and community manager Emma for being very transparent. They're basically like me. They're basically like the messengers for the community. When things don't go wrong or when something appears to be a mistake or whatever, they have been really on top of it. And I know that some of them watch the videos, so clap for them. And I know it's mentally draining dealing with us. Like I said, I've been playing this game for 10 years, dude. I'm telling you, little kid me would not be this mean. Little kid me was enjoying this game like without a brain, like literally. I was playing this for hours and hours on end as a kid. But now, again, you know, a lot of people are getting older. A lot of people got more responsibilities. And a lot of people really aren't engaging with most of this content because, again, there's really nothing to do. Even when the new Gauntlet comes out, that's only going to, you know, take players' interest for, you know, a couple, maybe weeks, maybe a month or two, until people just get bored of it. And then assuming in the summer update we get a new raid, a lot of people don't care for raiding because, as I already said, with guilds and raids and stuff like that, maybe there are changes that are already being worked on within that summer update Hopefully no more guild cooldowns. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. And maybe more guild space. I highly doubt it. And it would be cool to maybe see our first ever raid where it doesn't require an abundant amount of resources. Maybe you could just activate the gate and just say whatever raid you want, and then if you get the 12 magic touches or whatever, you just go in and raid. You don't gotta farm for no iRobots or crying sky revenants, like none of that. I think a lot of people in general just don't like monstrology either. So again, there's a lot of content where a lot of people don't like the game. But I digress. Huge shout out to the community managers. I know it has been super tough, but just know you guys have my support, moral support. And yeah, y'all been awesome. Thank you guys. For the devs also that have been trying to work hard, I appreciate y'all as well. Obviously, I can't agree with every single update y'all do. Some of it never really. I still don't know why. Why don't we have the treasure card vault? Does, why? Why? I don't know why they don't want to release the treasure card vault. Like, they said that, you know, cards are supposed to be consumables, but like when it takes 600 Azoth just to craft a key, like, bro, like I don't know why they are really. I don't know. That's the thing about KI. They're really bent, very bent on a lot of things in this game. Like you'll pitch in an idea and it'll just be immediately shot down. Like, nope. Nope, they'll give you a whole little Shakespearean essay on why. And it's just like, okay, well, sorry for pressing on your toes. We'll let you keep cooking with this game. Bro, you know how many treasure card vaults I would buy? Dude, I would buy so many treasure card vaults on just one character, dude. Dude. That's pretty much all there is for the news. Most of it is just kind of like other stuff. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all that fun stuff. And yeah, until then, I will see you guys later. Peace out.